So welcome back, guys, to We Talk Boxing, and today I'm going to be talking about Chris Eubank Jr. and him and Frank Warren pretty much going at it at the London press conference for Riyadh's show on the 12th of October. Now, this press conference was again going gently by. It was relaxing, and people were having their say until eventually, Ali was it Oladipo? Ali Oladipo obviously got round to Eubank Jr. and obviously asked him a question, and then it went off. Chris Eubank Jr. went mad and I started calling out promoters, saying that they're all like scumbags, etc., etc. Didn't really elaborate too much in regards to a lot of the promoters, but went in on Frank Warren, and obviously Frank Warren was there. He was literally behind Chris Eubank Jr. And it was that moment. Like, if you guys haven't seen the interview, I think it was Boxing Scene or Boxing Social. It's on their YouTube channel. If you guys haven't seen it, I think it was around 26 minutes and 46 seconds, give or take, in the interview where all this went down, and literally Frank Warren said, "Can you speak up?" sort of thing. And then yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. went in pretty much, and I think it's got something to do with both of them in the past. I don't know the full ins and outs. Obviously, I can't really elaborate or tell you if Eubank is right or if Frank Warren's right. I don't really know, to be honest, but it just brought a little bit of excitement to the whole press conference and the show a little bit, because prior to Chris Eubank Jr. going in and Frank Warren obviously like going at him, it was a very tamed press conference and just like a basic press conference really. And sometimes as a boxing fan you want to hear a little bit of excitement between certain boxers, and there was none of that on this show. Like, none of the fighters that are fighting against each other realistically had a bad word to say against each other, but it wasn't the boxers that did. It was obviously Chris Eubank Jr. and Frank Warren, obviously them guys going in. But from my point of view, don't really know what it was pretty much about. It was something to do with money and rah 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 in the back of the days, etc. I think Frank Warren was obviously chasing Eubank because I think Eubank must have owed him some money, etc. So I don't really know the ins and outs, but it's one of them. And what I found fascinating, like, I hadn't watched this interview until I heard Talksport. Like, I heard Frank Warren go in on Talksport, and he went in. I can't remember the presenter who he went in on, but anyhow, he was like, "Look, if you don't shut up, I'm going to sue you too," because he was talking about suing Chris Eubank Jr. for everything he said in a press conference. And I was like, "What shit, man? Like literally, Eubank Jr. must have said something." So obviously, it intrigued me to watching the whole interview. So yeah, it was quite funny, but yeah, madness to be fair. And obviously, I ain't said anything. I can't say anything. I don't know anything about the whole thing, but fascinating. Frank Warren talking about suing people, and I just think that's crazy. Like, he was like one of them kids at school, who obviously they know they can't fight, even though he's old. I'm not expecting him to fight Eubank Jr., but he was like one of them kids at school who know they can't fight, but has got money or got some sort of influence to get the other person in trouble, sort of thing. But yeah, that's what it kind of reminded me of. And obviously Frank Warren's straight up. He's like, "I'll sue you, I'll sue you." You know what I mean? So it's quite funny, to be fair. But yeah, in boxing, we sometimes need these exciting times, these exciting moments, because it promotes the shows. And yes, the card is in Riyadh, and we know from previous Riyadh cards that the fans that do go and watch the fights in Riyadh, they're not really exciting like the British fans. Like, I just went to the AJ and Dubois, and the atmosphere in there was electric. Like, everyone was buzzing, everyone was on their feet, and everyone was in awe and like sad in a weird way, and surprised of that the actual outcome of the main event. But we don't get this in Riyadh. So for Eubank Jr. to bring some excitement in the press conference with a couple of weeks out before they're meant to be getting the ring, I think it's just going to hopefully promote the show a little bit more, and it'll probably aid a few more boxing fans to probably, pay for it and watch it. But yeah, it's just my little thoughts in regards to Eubank Jr. He can never really stay out of the headlines, which is a good thing, because he is a pay-per-view star. People like to watch Eubank Jr. And when he does stuff like this and he says stuff that's on his head, he doesn't really care. You could, as you said, you know what I mean. He's saying stuff like this to Frank Warren, who is one of the bosses, big bosses in boxing. So he doesn't care really. It could be the king, and he would still say something if he had something to say. So yeah, fair play to Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously, fair play to Frank Warren sticking it back on him, saying like, "Can you speak up? We can't hear you." So yeah, mental. But yeah, hopefully the show goes smoothly. I'm very, very looking forward to the main event. Obviously, I think most of you guys are. Bivol versus Beterbiev. That's going to be the main fight, and hopefully the one of the best fights for us to remember in this year. We've had some good cracking fights this year, but hopefully this one between the pair could um, it ignites some fire in boxing. But as always, guys, these are my thoughts. Please subscribe and comment. Bless.